we're good to go. Good evening again. I'd like to call the committee of the whole for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024 to order with roll call, please.
Stefani?
Here.
Collier?
Here.
McAlpine?
Here.
Weinhammer?
Here.
Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? You know, the Ricks can still play.
Oh, can they? Dudek?
Yes.
Walrath?
Here.
Didn't know if I needed a motion.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving to the public comment, where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. I have nobody signed in. Is there anybody here who would like to address the committee of the whole? Go ahead and close open forum at 6:33. We have two items for discussion. The first is a discussion regarding the potential implementation of a local general sales tax.
I'll
Courtney, you
take
got
this one. So last meeting, we talked about House Bill 3144. This was a bill that was passed by both houses in early June, and then it was sent to the governor's office. It is currently still waiting for signature. With this bill, what it does, it amends the municipal code to authorize all non-home rule municipalities to implement a local general sales tax up to 1% without the need for a prior referendum. However, there's a little bit of a change where this House bill would limit authorized expenditures to be public infrastructure or property tax relief. So generally speaking, what that means, right, is if a 1% non-home rule sales tax was passed by the board, it could not just be used for general fund. It would need to go towards public infrastructure or specific property tax relief. Separately, and we talked about this a little bit last meeting as well, is that House Bill 3144 eliminates the statewide grocery tax. That goes into effect January 1st, 2026. Two different taxes that we're talking about here, but the bill covers both of them. So the bill then allows for home rule and non-home rule municipalities to impose a grocery tax locally. This was never something any community could do in the state of Illinois. And that can go into effect on or after January 1st, 2026. So when the state's tax sunsets, a local tax could begin. Again, without the need for a prior referendum. This new authority is separate from non-home rule sales tax. So we'll talk a little bit more about local general sales tax. So again, you as the board would have the ability to pass an ordinance or resolution that puts this sales tax into place. We have estimated, and this is a little bit of an increase compared to previous discussions, that it would be around $750,000. That is assuming if you pass it a full 1%. The reason simply that it increases, we just took calendar year 2023 sales tax data. Roughly speaking, that's a conservative number we've been able to come up with. Again, yeah, there's no change that you can pass this bill in quarter increments. It still includes the same categories: general merchandise, apparel, furniture, lumber, building and hardware, automotive and filling stations, agriculture and manufacturer. It does not include food or medical prescription drug costs. This sales tax allows you to diversify the tax base because it captures those dollars from non-residents. And then again, to implement it, you simply file a certified copy of the ordinance or resolution that the board passes, and you file that with the Department of Revenue. So how could those additional revenues be used? So public infrastructure is defined as municipal roads, access roads, sidewalks, disposal systems, water and sewer line extensions, water distribution, stormwater damage, anything that you can think of that's infrastructure, right? It's very specific. And this is a slide you've seen before. This was so you may have seen the pig, I guess, specifically before.
The piggy bank.
Yes, the piggy bank, I'm sorry. So there's currently no substantial funding source for the capital projects fund. I say no substantial because, yes, the village's cannabis tax funding does go to our capital projects fund. just to be transparent. But in our capital projects fund, that does include roadway maintenance expenses. Again, the infrastructure. And then also on the MFT revenue side, we receive roughly $750,000 a year. This falls short of the most recent estimate we've received, which would be $2.7 million per year, which would be required to return our road networks PCI to satisfactory, which is that score of 70, and then maintaining that score moving forward. So you can see with the piggy bank, when we passed our 5-year capital program, it was about $61 million. Projected 5-year funding, $32 million. I will put a caveat in there that if you recall from our capital projects fund, a large majority was water sewer projects, which means a large majority of that funding is water sewer, just as info. Any questions about the non-home rule sales tax, just first, before we go on?
Can you go back one slide?
Yes,
Thank you.
maybe, yes.
How did you get these projections again, these numbers? And the only reason I ask is because we came up with projections for cannabis, and we were way off on that. So how did you come up with these numbers?
So cannabis projections, we have actually normally gotten those from the state. So as more dispensaries popped up, that meant that it diluted that overall tax money that we received from the state. But then our money that we have, our municipal tax revenue, we estimated roughly 60,000, and we were right around there. So
This is all, it's not trackable yet, since it's
Yep.
all so new. The numbers that she's getting for the sales tax, that's from actual sales tax.
yeah, so
Actually-
this is, so our finance department, actually Brian Simmons as well, is able to look at our sales tax information. The state does put it into categories, and we broadly understand what is put into these categories. So we can take the big number, subtract out certain categories, and that's what gets, and we've also taken a conservative approach here because we don't, we don't want to go too, promise too high, right? This is a conservative number here,
So then that's if we were to do the maximum rate, 1%.
1%.
Okay, grocery sales tax, we were getting how
not-
much back
Sep-
for that?
That's,
Just out of curiosity, how much was that?
That's
I
for-
understand they're two separate buckets,
it's
but,
$400,000 that we were estimating potential loss revenue to the general fund, though.
got it.
And we'll see more of that in the coming slides, actually.
Does this cannot go to the general fund?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I'm fully understanding this. Thank you.
Okay. So grocery tax information. So again, it allows, House Bill 3144 allows to pass a 1% grocery tax without a referendum. If enacted, the municipal grocery tax would impact the exact same items as the current state grocery tax. So no change there in how it would be utilized and what products it would touch. Revenue from a municipal grocery tax has no limitations for authorized expenditures. So what I mean there is, it doesn't have to go towards public infrastructure, just as it does now, it can just fund our general fund. Revenue received from the current state grocery tax is currently utilized in the village's general fund. So if enacted, a municipal grocery tax would just keep the village's revenue at status quo. So right now, we're at, as we talked about, estimated impact is $400,000. If a municipal grocery tax was put into place, it would just act as a replacement of the eliminated state grocery tax. So 400 out due to the state grocery tax sunsetting, 400 in municipal grocery tax.
So
Just
Dollar.
dollar for dollar.
So Mark, why are they canceling the grocery tax and making us reenact it ourselves?
Well, because the governor was trying to give
Dale, can you-
taxpayers a tax break. Pardon
Can
me?
Dale repeat the question? 'Cause that was a really great question.
I
but-
asked why the state is canceling the 1% and making the municipalities put the 1% back in themselves.
Because he thought he was giving a big tax break to the residents of Illinois. But if you do the math, say the average family of 4 spends $10,000 a year on groceries, they're actually going to save $100. That $100 translates into between $400,000 and $500,000 to the municipalities. That's just us. Like Crystal Lake I think is going to be like $6 million. Rather than, we talked to the governor about this, and he at a conference I went with him, he stated that he would make it so that we were able to recapture, because I don't, to be honest with you, I've had many meetings with him and his staff. I don't think they understood the magnification of these tax dollars and how it would affect municipalities. And that toppled with the lack of money from the LGDF, which since 2011, the village has been shorted about $12 million. Imagine what we could have been doing with that $12 million over the last, 12, 13 years that would help us do a lot of these infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
So,
As a note, I actually had the finance department run numbers. FY '24 projected loss of revenue for LGDF is about $1.7 million.
see, I mean, this is what we deal with every single day, is that, you think you're going 2 steps forward, but then in essence, you're kind of taking 10 steps back. So there was such an upheaval with the state after the governor, I think unbeknownst to a lot of his staff members, declared this during his State of the Union, or his budget address. They were scrambling because they didn't know the effect it would have on local governments. And he told us that he would try to make this right. When we asked him about the LGDF, that's still off the table. You can see it's a lot of money to the village of Cary. The grocery tax, just so you understand, the grocery tax is never accounted for in the state budget. They don't account for any of the money. They don't account for any of the spending. It's clearly a pass-through that they also make money off of because they charge us to give us our money. So now, with this new process, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Euler, we will not be charged for getting our own money. So that we'll get that $100,000 or $50,000 in fees that we get every year, which is ridiculous for our own money. So when those all impact this, these numbers that you look here, the village of Cary, I don't want to steal your thunder here. I'm going to go there. If we were to enact this, this is by far much better for our residents than increasing property taxes. This last tax cycle, the village of Cary increased our property taxes by $140,000. That's it, $140,000 out of all the taxing, the structures, the pins and all that. That's all we're able to do because we're a non-home rule community. But we look at this very carefully. We don't want to increase taxes. Some of these new developments that are coming in are going to help reduce that burden. But when you look at the estimated impacts that are going to happen to our $10 million $10.5 million, we'll say, $10.8 million general fund budget, that's substantial. That is a substantial. As a business owner, you would look at this and all of a sudden you have a loss of revenue. How do you make this up when you had nothing, everything was fine? Everything is fine, and then the governor decides that he wants to eliminate to help people. But the $100 that the average consumer is going to spend isn't really, or going to save, isn't going to impact that family at all, really. The people that are less fortunate, that are on the SNAP cards or whatever they're called these days, they are exempt from this tax anyway. So we're not hurting or doing anything for the people that are less fortunate that need the help that the state gives them, because that's what the state should be doing, helping them that way. The people that can afford it, I think that they would be in agreement that would much rather see the village spread the wealth of all the sales tax from everybody that comes into the village, not just our own residents, everybody that comes in from anywhere they go, that buy and shop in our town will be paying that tax. So it is a really good opportunity for the village to capture some real funding to make up for some of the funding that the state continuously takes away. That, my friends, is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Does that answer your question? Yes. Thank you.
So this slide just summarizes the 2 separate taxes here to show you, what revenue is lost related to the grocery tax, and then how we currently don't have a non-home rule sales tax, right? So we are not currently receiving any revenue from it. If we were to enact one, then it's an entirely new revenue stream that can specifically go towards public infrastructure. So are there any questions just related to basically me summarizing the House bill?
Grocery sales tax has not been voted on completely, right? Or is it?
I don't have a question.
Has it been approved?
I have a comment.
So
I think it's something we have to do, so I agree with the mayor. I also think, without a question, it's window dressing on the part of the state to be able to show that you've cut people's taxes where all you've really done is shifted the burden to the municipalities to pick up the same thing.
Trustee
Trustee-
Stefani?
Oh, no, that was it. So for it's marked here as revenue loss. Has the House, has the governor
It's-
signed that
yes.
already?
No, so the bill has been passed. It
Okay.
is,
The
the
governor-
House bill has not been signed by the governor. It was sent to him June 6th. It has not been signed. So at this point in time, the grocery tax has not fully been eliminated,
Okay.
nor has allowing to pass one. And then also, the non-home rule sales tax, allowing that without referendum has technically not been signed by the governor either. It's all packaged into one
House bill.
one bill. But they have both passed, the House and the
Right.
Senate have passed it.
And we have been given assurances that the governor will be signing this.
Can you go back to the very beginning? You don't have to go backwards on the slide.
First, there were dinosaurs.
Right.
Not that far back?
So you had mentioned that the 750 estimate would have to go to public infrastructure projects, or
So it's or property tax relief.
what does that mean, and what does that involve? And
We would reduce our levy by that, whatever that amount is.
But can you split up that amount? Can you do 10% for a tax break and 90% for infrastructure improvement out of that, or no?
I'm going to put that
I would
question to
imagine-
Attorney
I
Euler.
would
here.
imagine-
You
be
can
able
break
to.
it up however you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so tonight, specifically what staff is asking direction on is just related to, is the board, or is the committee interested in considering a new 1% or whatever percentage you'd like to look at, non-home rule local general sales tax?
Upon approval and signing of the bill by the
Yes,
governor.
of course.
Otherwise,
And-
we can't do it.
Yes, and then also, if so, and this is just more on the back end for how, how this would work in order to file with the Department of Revenue, when would the desired effective date be? So only if you're interested, we would also need to then discuss an effective date.
So just for clarity, this has nothing to do with the gross sales tax. This is.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
This
I
is-
know.
No, you're good.
This is the
It could be how
sales tax.
I'm hearing it, so that's fine.
So sales tax
Yeah.
and grocery
And
tax.
we're not
2 to 1.
deciding where I know it has to go for infrastructure, but we can still have discussion on where the money goes and percentages later.
Absolutely. So when the board decides to pass the ordinance and resolution, we can, at that time, include language in there about how that funding would be utilized.
And
Absolutely.
how much?
And how much.
And how
Right,
much?
so
Okay.
if we said we were only do a quarter or a half or whatever,
Just
we'd
wanna
have
make
the
sure- just wanna make
flexibility
sure.
to do all that.
Yes.
All right, let's start with trustee Weinhammer. Any questions or a direction that you'd like to take?
No, I'm in favor of this. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Trustee
I'm definitely in favor. I think we have to look at it. We'd be being derelict in our responsibility to our residents if we don't take a look at this and consider this. I don't know to what extent, but I think we need to at least move forward.
Thank you. Trustee Collier?
Yes.
Trustee Stefani?
I'm not a fan of 1%. I would like to see it at like 0.5%, and I would be okay with that, but not full.
Trustee Walrath?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask one clarification from Courtney. These two separate items, the grocery sales tax replacement can be spent on anything.
Correct.
However, the non-home rule sales tax has to be either property tax relief or capital funding. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, so what I would say is I'm in favor of the general sales tax, and we've discussed for multiple years how our capital funding is lagging, particularly in the streets. And I think that this is an opportunity when the other tax sunsets would be my preference, and my preference would be for the full 1%.
Okay. Trustee Dudek?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I have a question. If the state starts paying us what they've cut back, would we have the ability to rescind this? Because essentially it sounds like we would be collecting what they're currently withholding.
I believe so. That would just take board action
To
to
clar-
reduce it.
Sorry, to clarify, this is the non-home rule sales tax, not the grocery tax, so it's not related to anything the state is
Okay,
currently
okay.
withholding.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, all right, got it.
But
Okay,
yes,
all right.
absolutely. The
I'm-
board
I'm-
at any time could pass a new ordinance or resolution. Say you did a 0.5%. Crystal Lake just did this last year. Say you're at a 0.5% and, whatever reason it was needed to increase it to 1% or 7.75%, absolutely. The board is able to do that.
Right. And we can do that, that's a moving target at any point. And I believe Crystal Lake just had that, an increase effective July 1st.
They did.
So, I mean, that's,
And they asked for more because of this.
they're trying to be proactive.
They're trying to be proactive about it because it's a big hit. It's a big hit to municipal budgets. I'm in agreement with the board here. All right. Pardon me? Oh, what's the timing?
But
Effective date?
You know that now?
based on the discussion, would the board just like another discussion to further talk
I
about?
was just, that's why, I was thinking, I think we need to have another committee discussion
That's
on
what it-
this. And so.
For the date, yes.
Well,
Okay.
that, and just to kind of reiterate everything that was just told so that people have an opportunity to digest what it is, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, and how it affects their budgets.
So what we will do for next committee of the whole, that we do bring this back, we'll talk about percentages and the timeline at that time. So then you also can all see what's a 0.5% look like, what's a 3/4, and we can talk about that.
Perfect, thank you. Our next item for discussion is regarding a potential vendor kiosk concept for alcohol sales within the downtown district.
I'll take them.
Director Simmons,
Thank
you're waiting there with bated breath, I
That's
could
good.
see. The steam's coming out of your ears.
Just as the board recalls, back in April, we did have a discussion regarding the proposed concept. The petitioners or business owners are interested in providing an additional feature or restaurant use downtown. We had discussed a few locations. There was some concern as far as where, the proposal as contemplated at that point with how it would function, potentially competing with other outdoor spaces downtown, entertainment venues, and also restrooms was a high item of discussion. Since that time period, we've had additional discussions with the business owners as far as their concepts, and we also looked at other property, potentially looking at Rotary Park, example, to have the concept set up at that location. The petitioners did provide or have been able to temporarily secure a location downtown, a storefront, that they're interested in opening another business establishment within that space, the former Sweet Caroline's tenant space. And they're looking at opening, along with this container bar concept, another retail location bar that would be affiliated with the two. So looking at the two kind of in tandem with each other from a concept standpoint is something they're looking to pursue. So the images here kind of show examples of what they've done presently in a neighboring community. As a bar concept that's in a park area that is utilized for special events in that community that are also coordinated with the establishment there. The proposal before the board this evening, just for additional discussion, it removes the entertainment component of it, more just to focus on an additional structure that would provide service within the downtown area that patrons of the downtown area could utilize, in addition to the proposed business location, physical storefront location they're looking to build out as well. And so through discussions, we've looked at various concepts, and these are ones that staff had looked up for examples of how the potential structure could be wrapped or visualized to blend with the theme for the restaurant space that they're looking at, but then also try to coordinate with some public improvements that the village is looking to perform in the downtown area by the Depot Plaza. So as the board recalls, we did discussed a few locations in April. We've had some additional discussions to try to refine that potential location for a container. We've essentially located or reduced it down to two options within the Depot Plaza area. This option one would look at an area kind of right next to the Kiss and Ride drop-off lane that would be constructed once the Depot Plaza eventually gets constructed. Obviously, the board action this evening, we're looking to still bid out that project and to get numbers that are reasonable for the construction of it, but we're still pursuing that project. It's just delayed slightly further. But in this case, looking at where that structure potentially could locate by removing one of the planned trees that are on that south end of that plaza area, could establish a location for the container to be set up over that landscape island area, and then should the concept go away at some point in the future, there is that planting area that could then be utilized to plant a tree in the future to get flexibility for the space. And this concept also looks at maximizing the plaza area still for utilization for seating and also enjoyment of the pavilion and fireplace area would not, significantly impact the operation of the plaza area. The second option that we looked at involves somewhat of a modification to the plaza design. It does shift the planned fireplace and also the well house slightly to the west or northwest. It would site the container more towards the eastern edge of the plaza, so it would kind of bookend with the pavilion from one end to the other. Would have the option for more seating to be placed around the pump house and also the fireplace as well that the patrons of the establishment could be able to utilize. I think we're open to both options. Both would have a couple minor modifications to the plaza design, which would not significantly alter the overall design, but would provide a means for potentially providing power or other services for the establishment should it be established in the downtown area, and then also 10 years down the line, if for whatever reason that ceases to operate, would not significantly look out of place, from overall design for the plaza area. The concept, and I can invite the petitioners up forward as well to provide some more information as far as what they're looking at, why they're still interested in this location, and also the concept for their storefront location. But we believe that it may be addressing some of the concerns that were addressed back in April, as moving forward, from a concept that the board may be open to, and if we're willing to consider this location to finalize, if we're to move forward with the proper paperwork to establish it, temporary ground lease for the location, and possibly a liquor licenses for both establishments as well. But the storefront currently is on a temporary lease or contingency lease, so there's a bit of a timing related to that matter that petitioners can provide more information on their concept and what they're looking to do downtown. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have on this location, and then happy to see where the discussion goes.
I'll start with a question. So you talked about utilities as electric to the site. Would that be a separate meter and they would pay their own separate electric bill?
Those would be details to work out, yes, but I think certainly from a lease standpoint, or if there's a power that's there potentially could be a meter that can control what those costs would be.
And would the lease be on the parcel size, and we just kind of figure out what we're gonna charge for a lease rate?
Yeah, I think it's more at this point, high level to figure out if it's something that the board is open to,
Okay.
and then those actual terms we can come to agreement on, but I think a standard, ground lease, a nominal fee that would cover our costs for that would be reasonable, and those terms can be certainly spelled out as far as what that amount would be.
Thank you.
The lease space that they were looking at Sweet Caroline's, so that's contingent based on this?
That's what they're looking at, is to have these two connected to each other, so that they're, the concern that was discussed previously back in April was with the concept being placed here without a presence within the downtown core area. They do have a business that they do operate over on First Street, which is in close proximity to this area. But they kind of heard some of the comments that were discussed before and have an interest in that space for another business enterprise that would be linked to this as well.
No concept has been set, what's gonna actually be in there.
They do have, again, have them give some more
Yeah, I was
information.
just, I was gonna say, let's have
Come
the
up.
petitioner come up, or the potential petitioner come up and kind of give us an overview of what you're thinking about doing. Don't all run up at once. We won't hurt you. Well, maybe one or two of them would, but. Just introduce yourself, a name and address, and name of your business.
Dylan Strite, Michelle Strite. We own All Marine Services in Cary, and we're partnerships in the Maple Tree Tap. So we took some of the comments that some of the other businesses had the last time this was brought up for discussion, and kind of thought about it, and the first thing that popped into my head was a project that I wanted to do for a couple years. Tragically, my mom passed away during COVID because she couldn't get the medical care she needed. So we didn't do a memorial, and her name, I feel, has somewhat forgotten. So this was something that I always planned to do. I didn't know where I was going to do it or when I was going to do it, but because this kind of came available, and then all of a sudden I see the for rent sign and my head starts spinning. Anyone who knew my mom, which maybe there was a couple of them, she had a certain flair to her. She was only 4'11", but she packed a certain flair, spirit. So I thought, what could be better than calling this my wine and whiskey bar that we do these cool pairings of food with, and call it Cynthia Ann's, my mom's first and middle name. So on that, it would be more of an upscale. I don't know how far we want to go into details, because we do want to be like, we want to have people surprised. So we do own that counter that was in the general store. So we do want to kind of foster around that as a like 20s flair, the roaring 20s, like something very elegant. We want to bring that up to a bar level that has stamped on it 1926. So to kind of bring all those elements back in, and then try to get some feedback from some of the residents. I've already had some people come up to me and say, I have a picture of this would be great. I have a picture of this would be, things that could almost be a timestamp, I guess, of different things that have happened in Cary throughout its lifespan.
Ties a lot of pieces together, and this all formulated more so with the feedback in mind. I mean, we understood the feedback from the last meeting of, all right, what are you gonna do with restrooms, right? How are you gonna make this work? And so this is close proximity, so initially we're thinking, oh, that could be great. At least now we have a place where patrons could go and, hopefully appease some of that concern. And then, of course, wheels just started spinning once we saw the space and saw, okay, how can we tie this together a little bit better? And it just serendipitously, things kind of came together. So this counter that's been sitting in our shop for many years will finally have use in a very cool way to tie the history of Cary together.
And a lot of like scripted and
Yeah.
gold elements and
It'd be very,
something very elegant, and I think that people would
it'd speak
very
volumes
much
to
enjoy.
his mother.
Yeah.
So.
What type of conversations have you had with the business owners like Leo at the tracks? Sally at 750 with regards to this. Have you had any follow-up conversations with them about a container bar?
No, I mean, we haven't.
I've
Um,
only had conversations with,
You're via Facebook a little bit. She was really nice about it.
She's referring to the folks from
No?
Kira Ale
Oh,
House.
okay. I didn't know if that was.
and we had conversations back and forth, and she was just, because of the concept that it was right in front of their establishment, she was very concerned, but once
Right.
we
Which made sense.
talked back and forth, she was very more open to the concept and everything.
Sally is, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that all seemed to be pretty good.
What's your time frame for this?
I'm ready to go as soon as you guys tell me I can start building.
I feel like I'm a little confused right now because I feel like we're talking about two different things almost. Like we have what's in front of us with the
One
container.
relies on the other.
Yeah.
I understand. And then I have another question. A long time ago, not that long, we were talking about having food trucks. Where would we put food trucks? Is that still something that we're talking about? Is this going to replace food trucks?
No.
This would
The
not,
food trucks would go along the curb line.
We would have no
with-
food out.
out in the container would not be food. It would just be beverages. We just figured if we're going to lease space in order to appease and make good with everybody, in order to house restrooms, then in order to make that a worthwhile,
And because this is something
Purchase.
that we do and build in-house. that
right, then
just-
let's make use of the space so that at least it's something people that aren't just going for a bathroom, but at least coming in and having something different to enjoy. So that's how we're connecting the two as well.
And having a bathroom that you would love to have in your house. That's like my biggest thing, like, obviously we have to add a bathroom, because there's only one. But I want it to be, I want somebody to walk in there and say, I wish I had this in the house.
Very nice.
There's a bathroom app, so maybe you can get rated on that.
That's funny.
Trustee Walrath or Dudek, do you have any comments regarding this? Are they still
Okay,
here?
I'll go.
I think it's a wonderful idea, and only have the question, back from April, I recall several of our business owners almost verbatim saying, if this is the concept that you want in town, we'll get together and give you that. I'm just curious, have we ever heard from them on that?
I'm guessing no from the comment that they made earlier, that they have not had discussion with the Trax or 750 Kachina
I
regarding
think he
that.
means, did they come to us?
I'm gonna interject here, and I'm gonna say this in all due respect to all of our businesses that I treasure, that I enjoy. You guys came to us, okay? You came to us first with this idea. If some restaurant wanted to come in, you don't owe it to any other restaurant to say, hey, I'm gonna be competition for you. And I don't think anyone in our downtown should view it that way, nor do I think that they would. I think they look at it as more opportunity to get more people into our downtown area that we're really looking from a vibrancy standpoint. I love what you wrote in here. Everything that you wrote in here is just spot on. From a standpoint of, do I think that doing something like a wine and whiskey, however you want to do it, I think that would be dynamite, very much needed. You know, you look at places in downtown Crystal Lake, and you're like, hey, how can we get some of this vibe going down here? So I truly appreciate that you took the time to listen to the concerns, went back and said, how can we meet those? You know, we need to have a bathroom, if we're gonna have something like this. So I get the conjunction of it. As for the location, whatever would work. You know, to me, it seems more, easier to go closer to what the other location would be, but I leave that up to you experts on how you lay those things out. But again, that's no disrespect to Leo or to Sally or anyone like that. I just think that this is a business coming to us, and no other restaurant that would come into us would we say, oh, you got to go talk to Uncle Jerry's to see whether or not they want you to come downtown. We didn't do that to them, nor do we do that to anyone else.
Well,
So
the reason I
that's
brought
just
it
my
up is
opinion.
Trustee McAlpine, the reason I had brought that up is because it was thrown out there that they wanted to work together on something. But, you know, I agree with you. This is a concept that they came up with, that they wanted to do. It makes sense. They're rising to the occasion, bringing another couple of entities into the downtown district is something that's, I think it's worthwhile. Trustee Collier, you said you, I think.
Yeah, I'm in favor for sure, and I liked option 2 actually better than option 1, moving it over. Just my opinion.
Trustee Stefani, do you have any comments?
First off, sorry about your mom. Second, I think it's great, your concept, what you guys are planning on doing in Sweet Carolines, that ends up going through. My question is, if this concept were not to go through, would you still carry through at Sweet Carolines?
I think that would have to probably come back to, we really did this to address the concerns. So if there's another way to address those concerns that would cost us less money, you know, we're always open to those. You know, this is actually a much bigger cost on our end by a lot, just to try to appease others' concerns with the restrooms. We understand that concern, you know, so we are always open for suggestions. And so I guess the answer would be yes, but where does that leave us with where we were last time?
Okay, the next question I have, I think is really more for the board too. The concept is great. I think we all agreed on that last time. I know that we did make mention of Rotary Park, possibly doing this over at Rotary Park. If we okay this, are we okaying for Trax to always have their to-go bar outside? Are we allowing Carrie Ale House to have something like this in front of their spot?
I believe
too?
by right there, the Trax is able to have that there. Ale House could have theirs there. 750 Chena can have theirs there by right now. So
Are you
the
saying,
one that's-
are you saying in front of their business, or are you saying in this area?
It's
On their property.
on their property.
On their property.
Correct. Or
Okay.
in close proximity to their establishment. That's how we've allowed those.
Okay, that's all I got.
It seems to be a relatively new concept that you see in other municipalities as well. Let me ask you, how is the container thing working out in McHenry for you?
Great. It's great. Yeah, we really enjoy it. It's going really well.
And they offer public restrooms there, don't they?
They do. They did build beautiful.
That
public
Wayne
restrooms.
Jet, I'm telling you.
I know.
But they're probably not the kind you want in your house.
No, but
Just
they're
saying.
very nice, actually. I gotta give them kudos. They're
They
very,
won't be as
very
nice.
nice, but ours are really nice.
You guys had talked about the business hour. I know there's 2 different entities.
Yeah.
What with the container, what are you thinking for operation hours and days?
Yeah, so we're very open and flexible. Obviously, those are not necessarily meant to be year-round, which is what makes the brick and mortar appease a few different issues. So ideally, right now, our other container bar functions from May through October. So about May 15th, or to Memorial Day, through October 15th. So again, there's flexibility. You know, when we have events later than October 15th, we stay open later. We're pretty much open Friday through Sunday in McHenry, unless there are other events or private events or whatnot that come up. Here, you know, that would be a little different based on the events that are happening, so
Yeah,
we'd prefer to be open more. It's just, you know, in McHenry, if it's quieter during the week, you gotta make
I guess
good
we would-
business decisions.
We would get feedback from
Yeah,
you
guys
and I know the train element makes things different.
right,
You know, being on the Riverwalk, it's a very different dynamic.
right.
It's more of a weekend type thing where this, obviously you have
commuters
2
every day.
events a week, but you also have the train too, so. I'm just hoping that this can spur enough from the train, to bring people in that normally wouldn't spend money in Cary, cause they wanna see, you know, something new and something going on, so not only does it help,
Helps
us.
everybody.
I mean, it brings more people in that wouldn't normally spend money here. you have all those trains going by every day, and now they can, instead of drive places, they can hop on the train and hit the rail, and I think people that go to different areas tend to spend more money, than in their hometown doing the, same thing they always do, so. Hoping we get,
I don't know, do we hear from trustee Walrath on this? Okay. Question for staff, Brian. The packaging, what would, through our, right now, through the entertainment, the social district, we require establishments to have a see-through cup with the logo. That would be this too?
Yes,
Or
I
is-
think that would apply to this as well. So this would be a establishment within the social district that would have the ability to have beverages consumed throughout the district. So anything sold at this location would have to conform to the requirements of that district.
Okay, just double checking. Any other questions? Concerns, comments? Yeah. Trustee Weinhammer, I'll start with you again. Is this something that you could support?
Yes.
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 No.
No?
No.
I'm a yes. Trustee Dudek?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, you have the consensus of the committee to move forward with this. We'll direct you to Director Simmons. He'll help you go through the process. Good luck, and thank you very much for investing in the Village of Cary again. Thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss pending or imminent litigation, 5 ILCS 120/2C11, and collective bargaining, 5 ILCS 120/2C2.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
It is 7:19. We will adjourn from executive session. There's no action after this. So thank you very much.